Welcome back. We are working in Module 10 where we're talking about formatting the different items that are on your worksheets. We've already gone through Section 1 where we talked about formatting your cells. Now we need to talk a little bit about formatting numbers. You probably noticed that when you type your numbers in Excel, they're considered generic. There's no comma between the thousand, no dollar sign, no .00, and that's because you have to tell Excel what numbers actually represent. I want to go through and show you all the different things that you can have numbers look like when you have them formatted. When you type numbers in Excel, they're considered generic. That means there's no comma between the thousands, there's no .00, there's no dollar signs. You have to tell Excel what the numbers actually represent. Let's just say in this case that all of these numbers happen to represent dollars. What I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and select the entire sheet. Now the way you do that is notice there's a little box to the left of the column A and above the row heading 1 there. By clicking there, you select the whole sheet. Whatever I do now will format every single cell here for that particular choice. If you look up here, your next number grouping is the one that says number, and all I want to do is click the dollar sign, and now you'll see all of these are dollars. I'm going to make a couple of these columns a little bit wider so that we can see all the numbers, and there you go. Now I just formatted every single cell on this sheet. That means even these blank cells over here, they hold formatting. If I took a blank one and just put the number 1 in there and hit the enter key, notice it assumes it's a $1. That means that if you happen to have numbers on the sheet that some might represent dates and others might just be regular numbers, you may not want to start by selecting the whole sheet like I did. You may want to just select just that one area that represents the dollars. Now let's go up here and look at some of our choices. From this drop down here, we can tell Excel that the numbers are generic, and this is how you would actually put these back if you decided they weren't dollars and you want them generic again. You would just choose this option. They could represent a number. They can represent currency. It can be an accounting option. There's short and long dates. You can see time, percentages, fractions, scientific, and text. Now we're going to go in a moment and see that for all of these there's additional choices, and I'll explain what each one of these means. But for now, let's just look below that and you'll see that there's the dollar sign that we chose earlier. I do have the ability from this list to choose a different style of money. Maybe I wanted the euro or the pound. You can see there's different choices there. If my numbers happen to represent percentages, I would just click this here. If I needed the comma between the thousands, I would click here. And then I'll tell you about these two in a little bit because these let you increase or decrease your decimal to change the displayed value. Let's go ahead right now and click on the arrow at the bottom right of the number grouping. And let's look through these categories and talk about what each one of these represents. And this is the same list we had when I pulled this down right here. General means that there's not going to be a comma between the thousand, no dollar signs, just like the numbers are when you first type them in. The next option is number. If you have a number, you can specify how many places behind the decimal point. If you'd like to use the separator between the thousands, that's where you have 1 comma and then 3 zeros. And if you have negative numbers, you can make them appear with a minus sign in front. Maybe you want them just red, or you can have black or red with parentheses. That's great if you have some sort of spreadsheet where you have payments because then the payments stand out. The next option is your currency. These are going to be the same options that you have with number, except that you also can pick the symbol right here. From this drop down, you'll see there's a ton of different money symbols you can choose. They're all right there. This is not going to convert euros to dollars or anything like that. It's just going to put that symbol in front of the number. That's all it's going to do. The next one is the date option. When you have dates, you can make them appear in any of these formats that you see here. Some of these actually have the day of the week. You can see some of these have the month spelled out. They're just all different. Some have the time. And then below that is the time option, where you have different ways that time can appear, and some of these might include the date as well. Your next option down is percentages. You can specify how many places you'd like behind the decimal point if you're working with percentages. You've got fractions. If you're using fractions, you can specify that you like 2 digits or 3 digits, or you want to see these as halves. You can kind of see the choices there. The next one is scientific. You can specify how many places behind the decimal point. And then you have text. There's something I want to tell you about the text option. One of the things that will happen with numbers is you'll type 001, and the 2 zeros at the beginning will disappear, but you really wanted those. The way you actually get those to stay is to treat those numbers as text. Text format means that whatever's in there, whether it's text or numbers, is treated as text. All right, let's talk about special for a moment. There's a couple of different things you can do with special. You've got zip code set up, phone number, and social security number. I'm going to show you an example using phone number here. Let's say I have this column right over here, and it's going to represent phone numbers. And typically, I would type shift parenthesis, you put in the area code, shift parenthesis, and then you've got all these little spaces and hyphens and all that. Well, we can set this up ahead of time so that it automatically formats it for us. Notice I've selected the entire column. I'm going back to the arrow to the right of number. I'm going to choose special, and then I'm going to choose phone number and click OK. Now watch as I type phone numbers in this column. I'm not going to type anything except the numbers. I'm not typing parentheses or anything. Watch how it put the spaces in there for me, and it put the parentheses. Now if you didn't have an area code and you just had a number, it would look like this. So everything's formatted perfectly. Let me go back in there because you did have one other option. You had the custom option. What custom allows you to do is create your own format. Now you've got several you can pick from here, but let me give you a really good example. Let's say that you sell parts, and all of the parts are 2 digits, a dash, and 3 digits. I've actually typed what I want the format to look like. When you type this, you can use the zeros or the pound symbols, either one. I'm going to click OK, and now I'm just going to type 5 numbers here, and I want you to watch how it actually put the 2 digits, the dash, and then the 3 digits, just like this. See? And that's what custom allows you to do. That's going to be all of your options in here. Let's go make sure we got them all. Yep, that's going to be all of them right there. Let's go ahead and click OK. And I do want to talk about one more thing as far as numbers, and that's going to be these two here, which say increased decimal or decreased decimal. Let's say that I take this right here and I make this number $220.89. Obviously that changes the answer and you have 89 cents at the end there. But let's say that I don't really want to show the cents on my spreadsheet, even though I need those to get to the actual closest dollar amount. I can actually take away a place behind the decimal point or add a place behind the decimal point. Notice this one is increase and this is decrease. I'm going to go ahead and decrease decimal, and notice now it looks like $220.90. But it didn't change the value of the number. Look, it's still $220.89. So that doesn't change my answer. Let's say I go one more time. Notice now it looks like $221. Again, it did not change the value, just what it looks like. We call this little feature displayed value versus actual value. And if I want to bring those decimal points back, I can just use the increased decimal, and then I can get it back to where it was before. Well, that's how your number options are going to work in Excel. You've got tons of them there, so make sure that you make the numbers look exactly the way you want them to look. Let's go ahead now and move over into section 3, and we're going to talk about working with borders and shading.